In 2006, the state of New York seized 5 lakeside cabins after every resident independently reported the same recurring dream. A glowing house across the water, a light in the upper window, a door that opened without anyone touching it. One of those people disappeared without ever calling for help. You're about to hear the story of a man who saw a house that wasn't supposed to be there. A house no one remembered being built, one that moved closer the more he looked at it. And when he went inside, he didn't come out the same. If a house appeared across the lake from you, one that wasn't there yesterday, would you go inside? Would you knock? Would you walk away? Or would you wake up days later with no memory, but new photographs in your phone? Tell me what you'd do, because once the light turns on, it's already seen you. Have you ever needed to disappear not out of fear, but out of exhaustion? Will, a 31-year-old graphic designer from Chicago, wasn't running from anyone. He was running from everything. Deadlines, sirens, social noise, and the heavy gray of routine. He booked a cabin 2 hours outside Albany. No Wi-Fi, no neighbors, just a still lake, tall pines, and silence so deep it had texture. He arrived on a Tuesday, unpacked by sunset, drank lukewarm tea, and when he finally looked out the back window, he saw only water. "This is perfect," he whispered. On the third night, the fog hung thick, that kind of fog that erases depth. Will stepped out with a flashlight to check on some rustling, but saw nothing but reeds, until he looked across the lake. There, through the mist, was a faint outline. A house. Not the cabin he rented, a taller, older structure, boxy and black, with a single yellow light glowing in the upper floor. There had been nothing there before. He was sure of it. He'd been staring at this lake for days. Yet the light stayed on. He blinked. It didn't. That Sunday, Will had his weekly call with his sister Mara. Same time, every week. It was routine, one of the few things he kept consistent, even while hiding from the world. He casually mentioned the house across the lake, described it in detail. 2 stories, slanted roof, old wood paneling, a flickering yellow light in the upper room. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Mara said, "Will, I've been to that lake. There's never been a house across from that cabin, just trees." He laughed it off, but his fingers started shaking. He didn't remember laughing. The pattern began that night. At exactly 9:41 p.m., the upper window in the house across the lake lit up. Not gradually, instantly, like someone had flipped a switch. Will checked the time. 9:41 on the dot. The light stayed on for exactly 1 minute, then shut off. He thought it was a fluke, but the next night, same thing. And the night after that. Always at 9:41. Always just one room. He started setting an alarm, just to watch. It never missed a night, and neither did he. 3 days into the 9:41 ritual, Will had the dream. He was rowing a boat across the lake, fog curling around him. The house loomed ahead, distorted by ripples. There was no sound, not of oars, not of breath, just the creaking of the water. As he neared the house, the front door opened slowly. No one was there. No wind, no movement. He reached the dock, tied the boat. Then he woke up. His hands were wet. The body forgets dreams. But not when it leaves something behind. Will started noticing changes, subtle at first. The house across the lake didn't seem so far anymore. The trees surrounding it, thinner. The dock, clearer, as if the distance between them was shrinking. He pulled up old photos from the first day, the house barely visible. But now, it was closer to the water's edge. No doubt about it. He even measured the shoreline with a stick and marked it with a rock. The next morning, the rock was underwater. The lake wasn't rising. The house was approaching. On the 7th night, Will couldn't take it anymore. He unhooked the old rowboat tied behind his cabin. The lake was unnaturally still, like it had been waiting. He rowed slowly, each stroke pulling him closer to the impossible. As he approached, the fog seemed to peel back for him. The trees bent slightly inward, as if making room. No birds, no wind, just that house, tall and black, waiting. When the boat hit the dock, the light in the upper window turned off. He hadn't even knocked. The door wasn't locked. It opened before he touched the handle, slow and deliberate, creaking like something exhaling after a long sleep. Inside, warmth. Not the dusty kind you'd expect, but fresh heat like someone had just left. A kettle on the stove, static on the TV, shoes by the door. The house wasn't abandoned. It was paused. Will moved room by room. No dust, no cobwebs, a coat that looked like his hanging in the hall. And upstairs, he heard a floorboard creak. in the room with the light. No one ever leaves the light on for a stranger. The upstairs bedroom was small, with lace curtains and a tall old mirror leaning against the wall. Will stepped in slowly, drawn toward it. At first, he saw only himself, pale, confused, sweating. But then, a figure behind him, tall, still, no face, just a silhouette where one shouldn't be. It spun around, nothing there. But when he looked back into the mirror, the figure was closer, hand outstretched, almost touching his shoulder. He stumbled backward and fell. When he stood up, the mirror was gone. If you're still watching, you're part of a rare group, the ones who don't flinch, who stare into the dark and wait to see if something blinks back. We craft eerie, long-format horror stories just like this, week after week. So if you're drawn to the mysterious, the unexplainable, and the deeply unsettling, subscribe to Whispering Archives. There's more waiting. Will ran out of the house and rowed back across the lake, heart pounding. The moment he stepped onto shore, the house light went out. Fog swallowed it again. Back at the cabin, he grabbed his sketchbook, something to ground him. But there was already a drawing inside. A stick figure of a man in a boat, and a girl in the upstairs window, waving. He hadn't drawn that. Not in this cabin. Not in this lifetime. The paper was dated 6 years ago. In his handwriting, Will tried to reset. He packed his things, loaded the car, and drove 20 miles to the nearest town. A diner, a phone booth, civilization. But when he returned to grab the last of his belongings, something was off. The furniture was rearranged. A blanket he never unpacked was folded neatly on the couch. His toothbrush was missing. A pair of women's shoes sat by the door. He froze, checked the fridge. Inside, a cup of coffee, still warm. He hadn't been gone more than an hour, but someone had been home. There hadn't been mail since he arrived. The cabin didn't even have an official address on file. But the next morning, there it was, a red envelope in the mailbox. No stamp, no return label, just one word written in blocky handwriting. Stop. Inside, nothing. Just that one word, again, on the paper inside. But on the back, a smudged thumbprint. Smaller than his, faint, familiar. He hadn't told anyone where he was, not even Mara. Not exactly. And still, someone knew. Someone wanted him to leave. Now, Will finally checked his phone. No signal, but that wasn't the problem. The photo app showed dozens of images he hadn't taken. All of them blurry. All of them at night. All of them of him, sleeping, standing in the cabin, looking out the window. And in each shot, behind him, was the house. One photo made him stop breathing. He was in the boat, facing the glowing window, and someone inside was holding up a phone. Taking his picture, he turned off his phone, then threw it into the lake. That night, Will stayed up. No tea, no lights, just a kitchen knife and his back to the wall. At exactly 9:41 p.m., he heard it. First, the creak of the front porch. Then, slow, deliberate footsteps. 1, 2, 3. They circled the cabin once. Then again. He peeked through the peephole. Nothing. When he opened the door, the porch was empty. But muddy, bare footprints led to the steps, and none led away. Whatever came, never left. Will's burner phone buzzed at 2:17 a.m. The screen just read Mara. He hadn't spoken to her in days. He answered. But it wasn't her voice. It was his. A perfect copy of his own voice, whispering, "Don't let her in." Then silence. He called her real number. No answer. When he tried again, the call auto-ended and the contact name changed before his eyes. Already here. The line went dead. He smashed the phone against the sink, but it kept ringing. The next morning, Will stumbled out to clear his head, only to find another cabin, identical to his. Same porch swing, same chip paint, same cracked lantern on the right post. It was across the lake, right next to the house. Through his binoculars, he saw something in the window, himself, sitting, staring back. The man in the window raised a hand and waved. Will dropped the binoculars and ran. There was no longer a safe side of the lake. Will packed to leave for good. Car loaded, keys in hand. He went back inside for one last check, and the front door slammed shut behind him. Locked. From the outside, he sprinted to the windows. Nailed shut. Back door? Jammed. He tried to call out, but no sound came. His voice was gone. Not hoarse, missing. In the reflection of the microwave, he saw the house across the lake again. And in its doorway stood a man, holding Will's phone, smiling. That was the last thing he remembered. 3 weeks later, a new guest arrived at the cabin, a woman named Claire. Same deal, off-grid, quiet retreat, total escape. She noticed the lake on her first walk. Peaceful, still. But then she saw the house, across the water, with a light on in the upper window. That night at 9:41 p.m., it flicked on again. She took a picture, zoomed in. There was someone in the window, holding a sketchbook. It was Will, and he was waving. Some places don't exist on any map. Some houses don't need blueprints to be built. They grow from memory, fear, and repetition. Will went looking for silence. He found a place that listens back, and it's still watching the lake. Maybe next time, it'll be your reflection waving. There's always room for one more. If this story gave you chills, subscribe to Whispering Archives, and stay tuned. There are more stories waiting beneath the surface.
In 2019, a man in Chicago entered an elevator alone and was never seen again. No malfunction, no records. The security footage, corrupted. There was no basement in the building, just a void beneath. That's where he went. This isn't just an eerie tale. It's a coded message buried inside a common experience we've all shared. Because this elevator, it didn't just go down, it bypassed reality. You're about to discover what lies beneath our world, floor by floor. And when you get there, you might not want to press the button to go back. You ever see something on a blueprint that doesn't match real life? Aaron did. On his first night working security in a converted office tower, he noticed something weird. The elevator had a B3 button, but according to the building's records, there was no sub-basement. Just B1 and B2 for storage and parking. Nothing more. The B3 button didn't light up. It looked old, almost worn, like someone had pressed it 1,000 times over decades. A janitor once told Aaron, "Don't bother with that one." But he didn't say why. He just smiled with teeth that didn't look like they belonged in 2023. When something isn't listed, it's usually hidden for a reason. Aaron wasn't supposed to be there that night. A last-minute covered shift had him guarding the place from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The building was mostly empty. Just echoing halls, vending machines humming, and motion sensor lights that flickered even when no one moved. He was 27, overworked, half awake, and curious in the worst kind of way. Around 2:30 a.m., bored and pacing, Aaron wandered into the lobby and pressed the elevator call button. Just for something to do. It opened fast. Too fast. And inside, the B3 button was glowing for the first time. Curiosity doesn't kill the cat, the elevator does. The B3 button had never glowed before. Not in the day, not during cleaning rounds, not once in any building log. But there it was, faint orange-yellow light like a coal in an ashtray. Aaron stared at it. He pressed it. Nothing happened at first. The elevator just sat. Doors open. Then, with a mechanical grunt, the doors slid shut and the floor indicator blinked out. No beeps, no confirmation, just a soft jolt downward like the elevator had let go of gravity. His radio buzzed, but only with static. Some buttons aren't meant to work until the building decides you're ready. The elevator passed lobby, then B1, then B2, then nothing. No more lights, no floor numbers, just downward motion. Smooth at first, then twitchy like it was hesitating. Like it wasn't moving by cables, but by something else. Aaron's ears popped. His stomach flipped like he was falling faster than gravity should allow. He pressed buttons, lobby, B1, door open. None responded. The panel didn't even light up. The emergency button flickered, then sparked. He checked his phone. No service. He checked his watch, it had stopped. When time and space give up on you, it means you're not where you think you are. The elevator slowed. Not stopped, slowed. Like it was reluctantly obeying something. Then a ding. The panel flashed, 4 in pale green. No building had a -4. Not legally. Not architecturally. The doors opened into a hallway dimly lit by red emergency lights. The walls were concrete but damp, breathing moisture like a cave. No signage. No exit. Just silence. Aaron stepped forward because the elevator behind him gave a subtle shudder like it might vanish if he didn't move. Every step echoed as if he were underground or somewhere pretending to be. Some floors aren't meant to be reached, only revealed. Halfway down the hallway, Aaron saw something impossible, a full-length mirror mounted into the wall. Except it didn't reflect him. Not at first. It showed the hallway but empty. He waved his hand. Nothing. Then, a second later, his reflection snapped into place. Lagging, then catching up, blinking in perfect sync. But his reflection's face? Smiling. Just a bit. The mirror had smudges on the inside of the glass. Finger marks, pressed from within. Aaron reached out, and the mirror fogged slightly, like it was breathing back. When your reflection lags, maybe it's trying to remember who you are. Just beyond the mirror, a shape emerged from the shadows, a woman seated calmly in the middle of the hallway. She wore gray hospital scrubs, skin pale like wax, and her eyes were closed but not asleep. Her hands rested on a cardboard box in her lap. Aaron slowed. "Miss?" he asked. No answer. He took a step closer. Her head didn't move, but her mouth opened slightly, as if she were about to speak. But instead, she just breathed out softly and the air turned visible like winter fog. There was a word scratched into the floor near her. Return. People in these places don't guard doors. They guard decisions. Aaron knelt slowly, eyes on the woman, and touched the lid of the cardboard box. It wasn't sealed. No tape, just folded flaps, and inside, a single piece of paper perfectly square. He unfolded it. One line, typed in courier font. "You've been here before." His breath caught. He didn't recognize the paper, but the font? It was identical to what his father used on their old typewriter, the one he hadn't touched since childhood. Beneath the paper was something else, a photo. A blurred image of Aaron standing in the same hallway holding the same box. If you don't remember being here, maybe something made you forget. Aaron turned the corner at the end of the hallway and froze. It wasn't just one elevator. It was a corridor of them, 10, maybe 12, lined up like museum exhibits. Each with a brass plaque above the doors. Names engraved, not floors, names. He stepped closer to one. Margaret L. Another, J. Wills. Some names were scratched out violently, as if someone didn't want them read. At the far end, the final elevator had no plaque, just a faint fingerprint smudge on the steel, and Aaron's reflection staring back at him. It blinked twice. He hadn't. If elevators go up and down, what if some go inward instead? If this story has you glued to your screen, here's your next step. Subscribe now, because every week we dive into unexplained events, hidden dimensions, and stories that blur the line between fiction and what you felt in your bones. Don't miss what's coming next. The next elevator might have your name on it. Aaron stepped toward the elevator with his reflection in it, but then he heard it, a sound like breathing, distant and hollow, echoing from the corridor behind him. Then, footsteps. Not fast. Not running. Just slow, deliberate steps matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. He turned. Nothing. But the echo didn't stop. It looped, playing back his footsteps from moments ago. Delayed, like the hallway was remembering him in real time. He walked again. Step. Step. Then the hallway whispered his name. Not loudly. Not menacing. Just softly. When a space learns your name, it's not architecture. It's memory. Further down the corridor, something was taped to the wall. Old yellow masking tape curling at the corners. It was a crayon drawing, messy lines, stick figures, the word home scribbled in red. Aaron stared. It was his drawing, one he made when he was 6 during a storm that knocked the power out for days. He remembered drawing it on the kitchen floor, but it had been lost. Or so he thought. This copy had a new addition, a tall rectangle drawn in black. An elevator shaft, with a red circle below it, labeled simply, me. When childhood memories show up uninvited, it means they were never really gone. Halfway down the next hallway, Aaron saw a single metal door, heavy, rusted, with bolts across the top and bottom like it had been sealed from the outside. He reached for the handle. The second his skin touched the cold metal, the door screamed. Not a creak, a scream. Human, loud, female. He jerked back. The sound stopped. He waited. Listened. Nothing. He tried again. Fingertips only, and it screamed once more. Shorter this time, more desperate. There was no speaker. No intercom. Just steel. And sound. And sorrow. When a door screams at you, it's not meant to be opened. It's meant to stay forgotten. Rattled, Aaron turned back. Enough exploring. He retraced his steps, hallway after hallway, until finally the elevator he arrived in. But something had changed. The control panel was blank. No numbers. No up arrow. Just one large button where lobby used to be. It now read, down. He pressed it. Nothing. Held it. Nothing. The doors closed anyway. Slowly, like they'd made the decision for him. And then the elevator moved. But the panel inside remained off. Just 4 metal walls and the hum of motion. When the exit button disappears, it's not broken. You are no longer allowed to leave. The elevator stopped. No ding this time. Just a jolt, then silence. The doors opened to a hallway that looked identical. Same mirror. Same red lights. Same damp walls. But when Aaron stepped out, he heard them again. Footsteps. Only this time they didn't echo. They responded. He walked, they followed. He ran, they ran faster. But he couldn't see anyone. Just the rhythm of something imitating him, almost mocking him. He stopped. The footsteps didn't. They kept coming, closing the distance until they stopped right behind him. He turned. Nothing. When the sound chasing you knows your pace, it's already worn your shoes. Inside the new hallway, the elevator intercom crackled. Static buzzed, then a voice cut through. "Don't go deeper," it said. "No matter what you see. Go back." Aaron froze. Because it was his voice. Exactly his. Same inflection. Same tone. But aged. Tired. Like he'd lived through something again and again. He grabbed the speaker. "Who are you?" Silence. Then, it doesn't end the first time. The line went dead. The hallway lights dimmed. A moment later, the intercom clicked again, but no voice came through, just the sound of breathing. Familiar. Labored. His own. When you're the one leaving warnings, it means you already failed. Aaron found a stairwell behind an unmarked gray door. He bolted inside. Concrete stairs spiraled down into shadow, no lights, no railing, just rough walls and his own breath bouncing back at him. He leaned over the edge and dropped a quarter. Listened. Nothing. Not a ping. Not a bounce. Not even a splash. He dropped a second. Still nothing. He turned to go back up, but the door behind him was gone, replaced with more stairs. Endless. No matter how fast he climbed, the top never got closer. The stairs were looping him. When gravity stops helping, you're somewhere it was never designed to exist. After what felt like hours, Aaron saw it. A glowing green exit sign. The door beneath it looked modern, not like the rusted ones below. Clean handle, bright frame. He rushed toward it, grabbed the knob, and threw it open. He was back inside the elevator. Same panel, same flickering light above the doors. But now the walls were different. Scratched. Dozens, maybe hundreds of names carved into the steel. All crossed out except one. A. Weller. His. And beneath it, fresh scratches forming 2 new letters, ST. He touched them. They were still warm. When the exit brings you back, it was never an exit. It was a reset. The elevator rose. Slowly. Shaking with every floor passed. No music. No numbers. Just a rising hum like the machine was tired of pretending it was mechanical. When the doors opened, Aaron was back in the lobby. But everything was wrong. The clock on the wall read 11:01 p.m., the exact minute he entered the elevator. The receptionist blinked at him. "You just went in there." Aaron didn't answer. He walked past her, out the glass doors, and into a night that somehow felt older. He quit the job that week. Moved cities. Changed his name. But sometimes at night, he still hears the ding. Some elevators don't move between floors. They move between versions of you. So next time you're alone and the elevator shows a floor that shouldn't exist, don't be curious. Because places like that don't want you to visit. They want you to remember. And they'll keep bringing you back until you do.